Hello, welcome back to my channel. I do not have a face cam on at the moment because I did not see a need for this. First off, if you think I need a face cam for this, make mention. Otherwise, not really going to use one, don't see a point in it. Today I'm actually wanting to try something new. And that, in short, is working on this. As it would make mention here, this is a Pathfinder character sheet creator. It's an online thing, I don't know what you call it exactly. But in particular, I wanted to do something very interesting today. Now, what I wanted to do, since I know a lot about Pathfinder, I'm not saying I know everything in particular. What I wanted to do is I wanted to actually go through and try to make a individual character here. In particular, I'm trying to actually make a character which has been seen plenty of times before. I'm trying to see what I can do to make Alphys, frankly, from Undertale. For this in particular, I do have a couple rules though. First off, obviously no magical items. Going by the point-by system for generating stats. No higher than level 10. No third party if at all possible, and no template if possible. Certain things, such as, for example, trying to go into making like sands, papyrus, so on and so forth, there'd be certain templates required. But in the case here, I wanted to see if I can actually just make Alphys in particular. The most I'm going to be using... Why'd I do that? Sorry. What I'm trying to do here for this is just experiment because I like making characters like this to begin with. But in doing so, I want to see how well I can actually do this on the fly. First off, we need to go into the Kobold because I've done a little bit of research for this to begin with. I do not want to go into this empty-handed. Now, knowing a bit about the character in general, there are a couple of things required. First off, we're going to have to be able to make constructs, to be able to make Metaton if you want to be able to actually have that happen for accuracy. Furthermore, I think, frankly, it would be an alchemist. So, let me pull up everything that I know is required. And we will see how well this actually goes. Now, the lower the level, the better, at least in my opinion here, because it shows the aspect of being able to achieve the character without having to go up to level 20. I know in playing a character could be a thing we have a concept that you're developing up to, but in this case I want to see what the lowest level possible it is to be able to represent to make a character like this. Now, I love to do this to begin with just as an experiment of my own accord. But I do think it'd be fun to actually do. So let's go into the ability scores, because the point by system, if I remember correctly, is here. Now, a couple of things we need to be able to do. Chuck bombs. Alchemist kind of covers this. Sorry. But yeah, Alchemist kind of covers this, and in doing so, we're able to cover a lot of things. First off, let's just make an actual note. Start off by the point by system, going off everything being 10. Just as a general rule. Okay, for this we're actually going to go by the standard fantasy being 15 RP. Not RP, sorry. Wrong term. 15 ability score points. Okay, for start off with, we know Alphys is a kobold at this point because yellow dinosaur type creature. So we're going to type that down as a kobold. Okay, being that we're small, it is a female, so she, which, sorry, let me capitalize this. Age, height, weight, not going to matter in this case. So, let's see here. I don't think there'd be a deity. I think we can pull this off by a minimum of level 7, frankly. So, I'm going to write that down as level 7. Okay, so Alphys level 7. Let me actually write down the name so I can actually differentiate between these characters later in the future. Keeps reloading. I believe that's how you pronounce, will spell her name. But otherwise, I know I like the game a lot, but the fact is I don't remember how to spell everybody's name, frankly. That is entirely on me, frankly. Okay, that is correct. Okay, I had to double check that on my own. Okay, so Alphys is not very strong, isn't very fast to begin with. Kind of shy, but very intelligent, smart, frankly. In the end, she does not want to try to defeat the player in this case, so I think, in particular, she would be a neutral good, frankly. So, neutral good. Okay, since we are here at the moment, let's start off with the point buy system. Okay, we have 15 points to spend. In short, she is very smart. Going to spend 5 to be able to give her 14 in her intelligence as just a base standard. Otherwise, in particular, she is not very strong, but she can take a couple hits in comparison to some of the other monsters. So I think that would be at least a 12 at base. That's 7 points down. Let's see. With the fact she's not very fast, she doesn't do very much damage to begin with as a player. She doesn't really fight in combat with anything other than her bombs, it looks like, lasers, whatnot. We have a couple points we can actually continue to spend. I honestly think she is more perceptive because the fact is being able to read more of a situation. So we're going to spend 2 more. Give her wisdom of 12. She's shy but very charismatic. She's more charismatic than she's perceptive or strong. So this we're going to give her a 14. That's supposed to be a 14 in intelligence. Okay, so far let's see. That's okay, I'm going to need a calculator for this, so moment. I should have thought of this beforehand. This is entirely my bad. Okay, so we have 15 points, which we spent going up to 5 for 4 for both the intelligence charisma, and we spent 2 in particular for both that of wisdom and constitution. Okay, we're getting somewhere. We have 1 point in particular, and I think that'd be best to be put into dexterity, frankly, as she is not that strong, but she'd be a bit harder to hit, honestly, in comparison, as a open thought at this point. So we are going to go over to the Kobold now, and we're going to go over here to the stat modifiers, and this is where the problem lies. Okay, she gets +2 to dexterity, bringing the dexterity all the way up to 13, which is not great in comparison to some characters you could have, but not too bad either. Sadly, you do take a -2 to con, so that is going to reduce it back down to 10, and you take a -4 to strength, which is a major ouch. Which, if I'm not mistaken, that is actually 6. Make sure. Yep. Okay then. So far, this is going pretty well. First off, we do have some very interesting things to be placed down. We have a +1 size modifier, and the fact alone that we do actually get natural armor as a kobold, which is very useful. Apologies. There we go. We don't get any deflection. We don't really have much of miscellaneous at the moment. Beyond this, she doesn't really wear armor too much unless you want to count the lab coat. But that is perfectly fine. For this alone, being a alchemist as what has been determined, there are some very useful things for being a kobold here. They do move at 30 feet naturally. No other modifiers as far. Now going down here, we're going to go to crafty here. We get a +2 on craft, trap making, perception, and profession minor. Not bad, okay. Okay, so we're going to actually jot that down here. We see where's craft. Being the fact that Alphys is a more, well, frankly, scientific character in particular, this will become more in handy. Let's see. It says stealth is always a class skill as well, so that, and stealth is actually a class skill. That really would not benefit too much here, but here we go. Okay, we also get a +2 to perception and profession minor. So let's jot that down real quick. Let's see, what was racials? Racials were there. Okay. This is the first time using this website, so do forgive. Now, lastly, being that of profession, just perform profession, yes. Profession minor, which we do get a racial +2. Okay then. So, now let's move over to alchemist. We have a couple of things very interesting here. Let's get these skills all the way laid out first. Let's see, we have appraise. Wrong one, yeah, appraise. We get all forms of craft, frankly. So that is very useful. We get disable device. There's fly and heal. Now, I'm not going to say anything too much about this. It's more of just an experiment, just to see how well this goes for me, because I love doing this to begin with. Honestly, it is probably too much. Yeah, perception's a class skill naturally, which is a extra big boon. Profession is naturally a class skill. Most classes actually have that, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, we get sleight of hand, spellcraft. Where's spellcraft? There it is. Survival and use magic device. Okay, so that's all of our class skills. Now, before we get into the actual class itself, beyond the skill points that was already in that section, let's go down here. So these are actually section for traits here. Yes. I'll go back over to Kobold real quick, because there's actually one racial trait in particular that we want to get a hold of. That is the Golden Scales. It is a racial trait we can actually we can get a hold of as a starting trait. This will cover our first starting trait. So far we get, I'm totally misspelled that. My bad. What did I do wrong? Sorry, my fingers are pretty much massive in comparison. Okay, just gonna bitch about it being like this to begin with. Okay. So for this in particular, we actually get a -1 to bluff and diplomacy checks versus other kobolds. But we get a +2 to bluff and diplomacy versus that of non-reptilian humanoids, which is very interesting. Did I misspell that? Yes, I misspelled that. My bad. Okay, so we now have the golden scales, meaning we're golden scales kobold, which is very useful in this case. So, we do have light sensitivity. Being underground for so long would give you problems, I would imagine, at least. Is there actually a section for vision, whatnot? Does not look like it. Then that will be going into, yeah, traits, yes. Okay, so we have dark vision of 60 feet, which is very useful. But downside, we do have a problem about light, frankly. So, give me just one moment. Okay, we have the light sensitivity, which is a major issue. Become dazed in areas of bright light. Taking -1 to perception and a -1 to attack rolls in bright light. So, that is a little bit of an issue. But, it's a workaround. Living in the underground so long, you would be very problematic for sunlight. If I can speak correctly, things will be better understood. So, with this alone, we are able to finally go over to our second trait. Now, our second trait we're taking for this is Spark of Creation, if I remember the name correctly. Since Alphys is a crafter of sorts, being able to create constructs and magical items, we are actually going to be taking as a magic trait Spark of Creation. Now, Spark of Creation being very interesting. Spark of Creation is able to reduce the cost of creating items, which is very useful. Now, there is another trait similar to this that reduces the cost by 5% of the same trait type. But the aspect behind this, it actually gives us a additional +1 to all craft checks. Which means we can go up to here, and we're able to increase our trait bonus for craft skills by 1. So all of them for crafting we get a +1 with. With that being said, let's move back over to the alchemist. Okay, we have our starting traits. We need to work on our class. Okay, so what is made mention here by 7th level, because I think 7th is the lowest we can do this because of actually being able to craft magical weapons and armor, along with that of constructs. Now, wondrous items being a very interesting thing to try to get a hold of. Now, some people may actually rule it separately, but an alchemist cannot actually craft magical items without Master Craftsman, if that's the proper name for the spell. Not spell for feat, sorry. But with that, that is perfectly fine. Okay, so for this we're going to actually go through this. First off, as advancing in level, we will actually reach 4th level. 4th level gives us discovery, but it also, more importantly, gives us a API bonus, making our intelligence be able to increase to that of 15. Now, 15 at 7th level is pretty good, honestly, for magical item purposes, if we were talking about magical items. But in this case, we are not. So, it is still a pretty good intelligence score. So, all being said, we're going to move down. Is there an actual weapon section? Because that would be very helpful for this. We have our saves. Okay, we can only go ahead and write down the base saves, being that of 5, not 6, 5. 5. We are really good at reflex and fort saves, but we're really poor when it comes down to will saves. So, with that being said, we have a lot of bonuses here. Now, we don't have any magical modifiers because of going into this is with no items, whatnot. But yes, is there an actual weapon section? Because that would help a lot. Does not look like it. Trade, AC items, gear. Then let's just write this down here. Let's see if I can actually spell quickly. I'm still partially asleep, frankly, so do forgive. 46, which we can use. How many times per day can we use this? Bombs, let's see. A number of times equal to his class level plus his intelligence modifier. Not bad, not bad. Currently we're up to a +2, so that is 9 times per day. So we have 9 bombs we can use per day. And since we add our intelligence modifier to this, we can write that down, being that of 9 bombs per day, doing that each of 46 plus 2. Now, already that is a decent amount of damage. Mind you, it's fire, so that is a very resistant type. So, let's continue. Let's go back up here. Going all the way back up, we will have a couple of different abilities here. We are going to have Brew Potion for free as a feat. So we can go down to the feat section. So we have Brew Potion, which is phenomenal, and Throw Anything. So we can throw items fairly well, and we can actually brew potions, which is very interesting. Now, alchemy is primarily a skill we're going to be taking. Go back up here, and alchemy being a very good option for alchemists, obviously as in the name you would expect. But there is a very simple aspect behind this. Now, if I remember correctly, going through here, making alchemical items, you can craft them fairly quickly, which is honestly a great thing. For creating potions, you can create them as an alchemist without an issue. Obviously, you have your formula list. But beyond this, it is fairly good. Now, I think I remember they got a bonus. Yeah, they get a competence bonus on crafting alchemical items equal to the class level. Meaning, just as a standard thing, we just get for craft alchemy a +7. Sorry. Okay, there's a melee attack. Okay, ranged. Okay, we can plop that in here and make fixed. So let's fix this real quick. Oh yeah, sorry, wrong one. There we go. Critical is a ×2. Sorry. Yep, ×2, so that means we gotta roll 20 for it. Type of damage. It if I can still type correctly, to be spelled correctly. Ammunition, we technically, no, it is not ammunition, but we can actually do this 9 times per day. So right there. Okay, we'll get to our attack roll for that in a moment. Let's fix this little mistake. This is the first time I've used this, so do forgive. So we do not have our skill points laid out just yet, but we have already got a lot going on. Primarily, Alphys only uses bombs, but this is a interesting thing. First, well, continuing on here, we do get some bonuses though. We currently going through here, we do get our mutagen, which is phenomenal. Now, special abilities, class, whatnot, we get our mutagen, which we honestly for this build would not be actually utilizing. So that is interesting nonetheless. We also get poison use as a actual ability, which is great, along with swift alchemy, which means we can craft alchemical items even faster. Now, with this all in mind, it brings us up to the point where we're going to get some very interesting things. We also get swift poisoning. Poison, I know, is not Alphys' thing, but it's a thing that we get. If I could read correctly. There we go. Okay, so swift poisoning, very simple. Now, we do not get much else beyond that, beyond our +4 bonus to fort saves versus poison. Now, all this in mind, we have some really useful things here. We don't have a damage reduction. Okay, so let's see here. Is there an attack modifier listed here anywhere? Yes, okay then. Okay, for being 7th level alchemist, we have a base attack bonus of 5. Meaning we can actually start totaling up everything here. For this in particular, we get a +1 from dexterity to throw weapons. In this case, so that's a 6, which is not horrible, especially since it's touch, if I'm not mistaken. But beyond this, okay then. Now we can actually total up our saves, because the fact that we're not going to be getting anything related to our save bonuses at all. So it's total 5, 6, and 3, which is pretty good, honestly. Not bad. So, continuing onwards, since our base attack bonus is out of a 5, our CMB can be easily totaled up. Let's see, size, we do take a -1 to our CMD, if I remember correctly. Let's look that up real quick, because I don't remember, unless it's actually in the Cabal section here, as listed. Okay, we do take a -1. So, okay then, -1. That's in total a -3. So we have a total of 3. Not too great, but you gotta deal with some things sometimes. Okay, so now for CM, that was a CMD, not CMB. My bad. CMD. If otherwise, we have a 13 base attack bonus. Sorry, not base attack bonus, but CMB, and 13 CMD. Okay then, so that's pretty covered. We do get a +4 size bonus to stealth though. So the more going through this, the more realizing that she is really freaking stealthy. +4. Was that there's actually size bonus? No. So let's put this over here. Okay then. So with this all in mind, we can now start going over to our discoveries. We get how many discoveries by now? Let's see. There's 3 discoveries we have. So now, yeah. Let's go into the alchemist discoveries because there's actually a handful of options we can choose. But one in particular gained at 6th level is one that I really have in mind. I don't know if I'm spelling this correctly. Yeah, I'm not good at spelling as what I need to be. Yeah, I totally failed that one. Okay, 6th level alchemists can get a hold of a Promethean Disciple. That is going to be one of our primaries. Now, there are other ones, such as, if I remember correctly, fast bombs. Which will become very handy. In particular, in the aspect of just giving us additional bombs. Yeah, we can't take that one yet. So we cannot throw extra bombs. Now, as an interesting thing in particular, let's go ahead and write down as a special ability, being that a Promethean Disciple already, because we're going to be taking that anyways. We have to take this to be able to cover everything we're trying to do. Now, Promethean Disciple is very simple. We can use Craft Alchemy. In doing so, it will let us be able to craft constructs, which is very useful. Since Metaton is a construct to begin with, it leaves a lot of things open. So, let's continue. Now, I don't know 100% what all other abilities she would have from here. Now, I know fast bombs would be an obvious thing, but it is not currently an option. She does not seem to use anything outside of regular bombs, so in doing so, there's that. She does not Hulk out and Beast out, so she does not really need to get a hold of the greater mutagens. But she does seem to be able to use her natural abilities to not hurt other people, frankly. It seems that her extracts can be used by other creatures in particular, in that her natural ability to be able to use bombs would not affect other creatures, at least what I would assume. Now, if I'm not mistaken, precise bombs. I believe precise bombs can be taken fairly early. Yes, whenever the alchemist uses a bomb, you can select the number of squares equal to your intelligence modifier, and they're not affected by the splash damage. Now, anybody who knows alchemist would know they actually do the minimum damage for the splash damage. So, that is useful, frankly. And plus the entire aspect of we run out of bombs, Craft Alchemy has things such as Alchemist Fire, so that's really useful. So, continuing on. Precise Bomb does not require anything, so we're going to be taking Precise Bombs. Okay, so Precise Bombs. And lastly, our discovery being that the Infusion. So now the creatures can use our extracts, and we don't have the fear of hurting anybody else that comes in along. Which I put in the wrong spot, frankly. Delete. Confirm. My bad. Okay, so, continuing on. This is a lot of information to keep up with, frankly. So, let's continue onwards. Let's close out these tabs here since there are no more extracts we can actually get a hold of. We have our traits. Leave this open because this is a useful page anyways. Now, since we have everything written down that needs to be written down, let's see, start off with, we are 7th level, so that means we can cast up to 3rd level extracts, which is interesting to keep in mind for things that we're going to be taking. Let me see. We'll be having 4 feats in particular. Now, feats. One in particular, Master Craftsman. We have to have. I don't remember entirely. Put that there. It'll probably pop up or something. Yeah, there we go. So that makes this easier. Okay, then Master Craftsman, you need 5 ranks and a craft profession skill. So for this, very simply, let's get our skills out of the way. Now, alchemists have a decent number of skill points. 4 plus intelligence is nothing to laugh at. With that, we can actually multiply by our level. We have 42 skill points, which is a lot of skill points, frankly. So, we already know we're going to have craft alchemy maxed out. So let's put 7 ranks in alchemy, bringing us up to a total . Let's see, we have 35 skill points, so let's see here. That is a 20 at level 7, which is a lot. That is a lot. So, we're able to craft alchemical items very well. She's able to talk her way out of most common situations, so I think bonuses in diplomacy would be very useful. Say put 5 ranks in to diplomacy, being a total of a 7. Not bad so far. With this in mind, she is a scientist, and I would imagine being a doctor of some sort would actually come into play with this. So, total of an 11. She seems to know too much, frankly, for her own good, which let's subtract 5 there. And I think she would actually have high bonuses into that of arcane. Now let me make sure that's the proper number of skill points. Being that of, let me see, 42. Okay, good thing I did that because I totaled that wrong. Okay then, so let's put 7 ranks in arcane. Being a total of a 12, which is pretty good. You have to be at least mildly perceptive inside of the Underdark to not get lost, because it is a very big place. So, with this in mind, that will be a total of a 10. Being fairly perceptive and quite knowledgeable in the ways of magic in particular to be able to craft such creatures. So, with that being said, that'll be a total of a 12. And the fact is, we know she is watching us the entire time. I'm going to put a rank inside of stealth. Be a total of a 9. And doing so we don't actually actively find her. Being able to forge around, which will be -2, for different things, such as the different things inside of the junkyards and whatnot that she's went through. Trash, frankly. We're able to determine that she's able to pretty much easily be able to find a lot of things without having to do much work for it. So a total of 5 for survival. Lastly, we're going to put the last 3 skill points, being that inside of Usematic Device. total of 8. So, with this all in mind, we do have several different things that we have. Now, we can actually go into something a bit more interesting for this, since we know we have to have a certain amount of ranks. We have 7 ranks in craft alchemy, so we can actually go ahead and actually jot down that of master craftsman. We know we're taking that. In doing so, where is that section? There it is. So, with this in mind, let's see, what all does it give? You get to choose a craft or profession skill with at least 5 ranks in it. In doing so, you receive +2 bonus on it, which is great. Being that of craft alchemy at this point. And in doing so, your ranks qualify for craft magic arms and armor and craft wondrous, which is pretty good, honestly. Allowing you to create magical items when using this feat, but it requires you using your craft skill, which is phenomenal in this case. Now, it does still mention increases the DCs to craft items you do not have the actual spell or feat in particular, whatnot, that is required. So with this in particular as well, we're also going to be increasing this from 7 to a 9. So we have a total of a 22 inside of craft alchemy. So we're pretty much guaranteed we're going to be able to craft any item in particular we want to. Now, with that in mind, let's see how's this doing. Okay, so it's still recording well. Just double check on that. Apologies. Okay then, so continuing on here, we have Master Craftsman as a feat. Now, we do know that we have to be at least 5th level for this. So, at 7th level, we're going to be taking and getting a hold of Craft Magic Arms and Armor. Now, why not Craft Wondrous? Because the fact here alone, we are able to see that she turns a phone into that of a gun. She turns a phone to a gun, so in doing so, I would imagine it would be prioritizing being that of magical weapons. Now, we have 5th and 7th covered. We need 1st and 3rd. Okay then, so we pretty much covered a lot of things, mind you, with this being in mind. She's a bit more dexterous than that, so I imagine she would be able to have, frankly, weapon finesse. If I remember how to spell this correctly. Sure, go down there for that. So, weapon finesse. Let's see, is there any requirements for this? No. Okay then, so, weapon finesse it is. We taking weapon finesse because the aspect of being able to use different weapons without actually having to use much strength for it. If you really want to argue it, you could technically count a wrench as a club if you wanted to. And, just for a just an honest thing, she's able to hit you fairly easily with her bombs. So, we're taking it for our bombs. Now, with this in particular, we'll raise it up from a 6 to a 7 for attack roll. That is really great, frankly. Now, our AC for this is not going to be very great, in particular. Now, regular AC is going to be that of a 13. Now, I understand armor would cover this as well, but very interesting to just have this as a generalization. Touch, doesn't that just remove dexterity, or does that actually move armor? I do not remember. Sure, this set will do. Let's see here. That's armor bonus. That's size bonuses. Yeah, let's see here. I can't believe that I don't remember. Let's see. Touch removes armor. Touch removes armor. Okay then. Sorry. Took a moment to remember. So that means our touch is a 12, and our flat-footed reduce takes out dexterity. That's what it was. So notice we have a decent AC. Now our total hit points are going to be a little bit of a interesting factor. I do not remember what the average is on a D8. What is the average roll on a D8? No. Yes, that's what I need. Average roll on die. Okay. So. D8, 4.5. Okay then, fair enough. So, subtracting the first die since it's always max, we're going to be going through 6. Okay, 35 plus the aspect of having no bonuses. We're going to have 35 hit points, and the fact she's able to withstand a little bit more in comparison to her taking massive negatives is a little bit of a shock at this point. So, with that being said, let's move down to the final aspect of this build. We don't have really any treasure. We're not going to go into that really. Now DCs we can actually do fairly easily though. For that, do we actually get? We do not get 0 level extracts. It's not a thing. Yeah. So there is no 0 level extract, but we can go here very easily. That is 13 for our DC for first, 14 for second. We do have 3rd level extracts. Double check this. At some of the level, yes, we just barely got 3rd level, so that's 15. So, with this in mind, the number of spells known, I do not remember how this works off. So, is it listed somewhere in here? Okay, it must be in just alchemy section. Let's see here. Where does it make mention of this? Luckily enough, this should be easy to find. Let's see here. Where does it say? Yeah, I don't. Okay, 2 first of his choice plus a number equal to his intelligence modifier. Since we're creating a 7th level character, being that our intelligence modifier gives us 2 additional spells at this point, so 4 to start off with. At each new level, he gains 1 additional formula of any level which he can cast. Now, with the levels here, what I would prefer to do is go up here and go for each individual level that we cannot actually cast. So at 2nd and 3rd, we're getting 2 more. So that's 6 first. Finally, at 4th, we get a first spell slot. So we have 3 second. And 7th, we have 1 extract. So yeah, we have 1 extract of the level. So now we can actually go over here to the actual extract list, which would be very interesting to cover. So now we are done with the alchemist entirely. Okay, we're going to choose our simple extracts here. based off of what she is able to do. She's able to treat wounds, so I imagine that Cure Light would be a thing being able to do. No, not that. Yes, Cure Light wounds. There we go. So, continuing. With the aspect of her being able to craft, I imagine she would have ways to increase her actual crafting DCs, well, craft checks. So I think, yeah, Crafter's Fortune would be a great deal of a boon. So that's 2 covered out of 6. Okay, for this, in addition, we know that it's very hot where she lives, so I imagine Endure Elements would be good. Just because the sheer fact alone that we'll talk about, she lives in an area of molten magma. So, being extremely knowledgeable as it is, I would imagine she would be able to identify magical items easier. So with Identify, giving you a plus 10 bonus to identify magical items, that is useful beyond belief. Shield would be a very useful thing. I imagine she'd be able to use. Now, logic behind this one is very simple. Where is Shield? Shield. She would have to have some way to be able to defend herself, and I imagine being able to make at least a temporary alchemical shield would be something very useful for her. And for the last first level extract, we're going to go with the... You see, I misspelled that. Targeted Bomb Admixture. So, these are her first level extracts. Now, once prepared, that is a different story, frankly. But, nonetheless, continuing onwards. For her second level extracts, it's going to be fairly simplistic. As it stands here, she has a lot of issues, obviously, as it stands as a character thus far. Not being able to really stand up on her own 2 feet at this point. But with this, we're going to take Cure Mod. Yep. So Cure Moderate, we're going to have the second level extract. We have 2 more extract of second level to choose. So with this in particular, let's continue. As it stands currently, she's fairly easy to defeat. So I imagine False Life would be something she'd be able to have. So now she can withstand a bit more hits. She's able to play off the entire scientist aspect with Doctor, whatnot, being able to craft more items. That's really useful. Continuing onwards, I don't know what her last extract would be, frankly. I don't think it'd be Restoration Lesser. Just by the fact alone, there's not really a thing you'd be able to deal with. But, in particular, still going over this list entirely, it looks to be one of the only few good options left. Mind you, not to say any of these options aren't actually good to begin with. So, No, not third. Second. So, let's see. Last second level extract of Restoration Lesser. So I did not see anything else that I would imagine to be able to do. So, last one being our final spell. In particular, there's a handful of different things here that I imagine she'd be able to do. As it stands, I don't know of many things here that she'd be able to do, but she seems to be able to work on things very quickly. So I'm assuming haste would be a thing she would have. So, okay, that is it. Okay, let's recap over what this is. We are not very strong, even though we are a 7th level alchemist. Kobold, small size, we take a -2 strength. Bonus to dexterity, but negative to con, not too much of a bonus there. We have a intelligence of 15, level 7, which is not bad. Could be better. Magical items would boost that up a lot more, but still, charisma's not bad either. AC, thanks to having armor, would actually raise it up a lot more. With the shield extract, we're able to at least increase our AC by 4. With False Life, we're able to survive a couple of hits very easily. On average, being able to have close to 40 to 43, depending on how poorly we roll, which is honestly phenomenal. We have decent saves all across the board. Resistance is a poison. Our initiative, which I forgot to write down, is actually a 1. We don't have anything else. We can move fairly quickly. We can't grapple things very well, but in the end, we're fairly easy to grapple, being small sized and whatnot. Make it a lot easier to grapple. We have a decent number of bombs per day with a decent amount of damage. We have several different actual skills, which are very useful for her line of work, being that diplomacy as being one of the several different skills being able to get ranks in. A craft alchemy skill total that does not mean you really need to. Well, what I'm trying to say is not something to be laughed at, frankly. A 22 at level 7 is phenomenal. Being able to use heal as an active thing if you need to be able to heal people, whatnot, or even heal yourself up from your own mishap of experiments. Being able to research out different things about creatures, whatnot, for your research of reanimation, which she actively does. Being fairly perceptive, being able to learn more and be able to see more of things around you, being able to find rare things you wouldn't actually normally be able to see. Being able to ultimately be able to identify magical properties a bit more of things that really are not related to what she's supposed to be able to do to begin with. The ability not to be able to be seen that well, you fairly on average you would not be seen. Being able to forage around, being able to at least survive out in the wild. And lastly, being able to get a hold of pretty much any item, be able to tinker with it for a few moments and be able to use it. In the end, we're able to craft constructs, be able to craft metaton if required, be able to transform different items to be able to do other things. We can turn magical weapons and we can make magical weapons and armor and even upgrade them later if we want to use an all-craft alchemy skill. In the end, having a very small number of extracts, but the fact that some very useful ones, being that things like Crafter's Fortune, enhancing your craft alchemy skill for when you are crafting said magical items. Being able to heal, endure the heat, which is obviously going to be there, wrinkling the hotlands, because it's actually right by molten magma, so it's going to be extremely hot to begin with. Being able to identify more items whenever you would need to give you an extra bonus to be able to tell what things are and how to be able to use them. Shield just being there so you don't actually get hit that often, because she can seem to take a hit decently, and being able to survive that long would actually be fairly useful. Being able to use targeted bomb admixture to be able to do a bit more damage when required. Being the fact of having both Cure Light and Cure Mod, being able to heal a decent amount, frankly. Just in case you get yourself hurt or somebody else gets hurt that you need to actually take care of. false life because she's harder to defeat, with lesser restoration being an addition just in case you mess up with your experiments. Haste making you faster, being able to obviously attack more, but in this case being able to do things a little bit quicker, making you a little bit harder to hit. Being a gold skill kobold, you're able to be more friendly and more interactive with creatures around you, but most kobolds don't trust you as much. With all this in particular, this is Alphys. Alphys statted out for Pathfinder. So, if you enjoyed this little experiment here, please do like and subscribe. Frankly, this would actually help me a lot on a lot of things. Maybe vote in the comments what character you would actually like to see me build. I love working on Pathfinder to begin with, and this is one thing I have enjoyed doing. With this being the point buy system, I'm not really used to using it, but it's a very interesting thing to try to do. It does seem to be giving a bit more balanced stats for the purpose of trying to create a character spontaneously like this. But in the end, thank you all for watching. Please let me know of any character you would like to see me build, because it would be very interesting to see what you can come up with for me to be able to do. But beyond that, I do intend on trying to do more of these, and doing so creating other characters. Eventually, I'm going to be trying to do different characters like Sans, whatnot. And even branch out, frankly, of Undertale, frankly, because Undertale, I've been on an Undertale kick recently. So, but with that, thank you once again, and I hope to see you in another video.